सकानिल हुकूक कासतिल विसाली वक़ुल्तु लिहमरती नहवी ताली सअत वमशत लिनहवी फी कऊसिन वहिंतु बिसुक्रती बैनल मवाली वक़ुल्तु लिसाइरिल अक़ताब लुमू बिहाली वदखुलू अंतुम रिजाली वहुम वशरबू अंतुम जलूदी वसाकिल कौमे बिलवाफी मलाली शरीबतुम फुज़लाती मिन बादी सुकरी वलानिलतुम उलूबी वत्तिसाली मकामुकुमुल उला जमअन वलाकिन मकामी फौककुम माज़ाल आली अना फी हज़रति तकरीब वहदी युसर्रिफुनी वहस्बी ज़ुल जलाल युसर्रिफुनी वहस्बी ज़ुल जलाल अना बाज़ी अशहबु कुल्ल शैखिन वमन ज़ाफ़िर रजाल तिमसाली क़सानी ख़िलअतम बेताराज़ अज़मिन क़सानी ख़िलअतम बेताराज़ अज़मिन वतवजनी बित्तिजानिल कमाली वअदलअनी अला सिर्रिन क़दीमिन वक़ल्लदनी वआतानी सुआली ववल्लअनी अलल अक़ताब जमअन फहुक्मी नाफ़िज़ुन फ़ी कुल्लि हाली वहुक्मी नाफ़िज़ुन फ़ी कुल्लि हाली वलौ अलक़ैतु सिर्री फ़ी बहारिन लसारल कुल्लु ग़ौरन फ़ी ज़वाली वलौ अलक़ैतु सिर्री फ़ी जिबालिन लदुक़्क़त वख्तफ़त बैनर रिमाली वलौ अलक़ैतु सिर्री फ़ौक़ नारिन लहमिदत वंतफ़त मिन सिर्रि हाली वलौ अलक़ैतु सिर्री फ़ौक़ मैतिन लक़ाम बिक़ुदरतिल मौला ताली वमा मिनहा शहूरुन औ दहूरुन तमुर्रु वतनक़दी इल्ला अताली वतुख़बिरुनी बिमा याती वयजरी वतुख़बिरुनी बिमा याती वयजरी वतुअलिमुनी फ़अक़सिर अन जिदाली मुरीदीहिम वतिब वश्तक़ वग़नी वइफ़अल मा तशाअ फ़अल इस्माली मुरीदीहिम वतिब वश्तक़ वग़नी वइफ़अल मा तशाअ फ़अल इस्माली मुरीदी ला तहफ़ अल्लाहु रब्बी अतानी रिफ़अतन निलतुल मुनाली तूबुली फ़िस समाए वल अर्ज़ तोक़त शाऊसु स्वादात क़द बताली बिलादिल्लाहि मुल्की तहत हुक्मी व वक्ती क़ब्ल क़ल्बी क़द सफ़ाली नज़रतु इला बिलादिल्लाहि जमअन कहरदलतिन अला हुक्म इत्तिसाली दरस्तुल इल्म हत्ता सिरतु ख़ुतबन व निलतु साद मिन मौलल मवाली रिजाली फी हवाजिहिम सियामुन वफ़ी ज़ुलुल आली कल्लु आली वकुल्लु वली लहू क़दमन व इन्नी अला क़दमिन नबी बदरिल कमाली अला क़दमिन नबी बदरिल कमाली नबीयुन हाशिमी मक्की हिजाज़ी व जद्दी बिही निलतुल मवाली मुरीदी ला तहफ़ वाशिन बैनी मज़ूमुन क़ातिलुन इंदल क़िताली अनल जीली मुहय्यद्दीन इस्मी अनल जीली मुहय्यद्दीन इस्मी व आलामी अला रासिल जिबाली अनल हसनी वल मग़दा मकामी व अक़दामी अला उनक्किर रिजाली व अक़दामी अला उनक्किर रिजाली व अब्दुल क़ादिर मशहूर इस्मी व अब्दुल क़ादिर मशहूर इस्मी व जद्दी साहिबुल ऐनिल कमाली व जद्दी साहिबुल ऐनिल कमाली व जद्दी साहिबुल ऐनिल कमाली आमीन। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन والعاقبة للمتقين الصلاة والسلام على رسوله محمد وآله وآل بيته وأصحابه أجمعين। मौला करीम जो कसीदा गौसिया शरीफ और ख़त्म ख़ाजगान क़ादिरिया पर आपने बारगाह में कबूल फरमा और अपने प्यारे हबीब लबीब हज़रत नूरे कायनात हज़रत मोहम्मद मुस्तफ़ा सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की बारगाह में पेश करते कबूल फरमा। आपके वसीले से तमाम अंबिया, तमाम रसूल, तमाम गौस, कुतुब, कलंदर, दरवेश, आलुल्लाह और तमाम सैयद रशीदा मुसलमान की रूह को साफ करते कबूल फरमा। आपके वसीले से आपके वालिदैन करीमैन, आपके ख़ानदान के लोग, आपकी बेटियाँ के बेटे, बिलखुसूस हज़रत अबू तालिब, हज़रत अब्बास, हज़रत अमीर हमज़ा, हज़रत हारिस, हज़रत उमर फज़ल बिन्त हारिस, हज़रत फ़ातिमा बिन्त असद और बिलखुसूस हज़रत खातून जन्नत की उनको इसार करते हैं। कबूल फरमा। आपकी वसीला जलीला से आपके यारों ने बावफा हज़रत सिद्दीक़ अकबर, हज़रत उमर फारूक, हज़रत उस्मान गनी, हज़रत मौलाए कायनात, इमाम हसन, इमाम हुसैन, इमाम ज़ैनुल आबिदीन, इमाम मोहम्मद बाक़िर, इमाम जाफ़र सादिक़, मूसा काज़िम, सैयद अली रिज़ा, इमाम तकी, इमाम नकी, इमाम हसन नस्बी, बिलखुसूस गौस पाक अली जनाब को इसार करते हैं। कबूल फरमा। नबी पाक अलैहिस्सलाम के जितने सहाबी या मुल्क सबकी उनको इसार करते हैं। कबूल फरमा। नबी पाक अलैहिस्सलाम की वसीले से शुहदाए उहद, शुहदाए बदर, शुहदाए हनद, शुहदाए हुनैन और बिलखुसूस शुहदाए करबला के उनको इसार करते हैं। कबूल फरमा। इन तमाम बंदगान खास के वसीले जलीला से या मौला करीम आज की बाबरकत दिन के वसीले से हमारे गुनाह माफ फरमा। हम सच्ची नीयत और इखलास के साथ तेरी बारगाह में तौबा करते हैं। या मौला करीम हमारी तौबा कबूल फरमा, हमारी तौबा मंजूर फरमा। या मौला करीम हमारी तौबा कबूल फरमा, हमारी तौबा मंजूर फरमा। या मौला करीम हमें नेकी के काम करने की तौफीक अता फरमा। या मौला करीम इस बाबरकत दिन के वसीले से आलम इस्लाम का बोलबाला फरमा। जहाँ कहीं मुसलमान जुल्म और सितम का सामना कर रहे हैं, या मौला करीम उन्हें फतह अता फरमा। नबी पाक अलैहिस्सलाम के वसीले से, पंचल पाक के वसीले से आलम इस्लाम में जहाँ कहीं सही कीदा मुसलमान बीमार है, या मौला करीम उन्हें शिफा अता फरमा। या मौला करीम उन्हें शिफा अता फरमा। या मौला करीम मुसलमानों के हाल पर रहम फरमा। अपने प्यारे हबीब नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के वसीले से इस मस्जिद के साथ, हमारे इस मिशन के साथ जो साथी ताउन करते हैं, या मौला करीम सिद्दीक़ साहब उन्हें कोई पेट की बीमारी है, या मौला करीम शिफा अता फरमा। और इस बाबरकत दिन के वसीले से हमारे साथ जो ताउन करते हैं, या मौला करीम उनकी दुनिया भी अच्छी फरमा और आखिरत भी अच्छी फरमा। और जो हमारे बुजुर्ग दोस्त, हमारे तलबदार, जिनको हम जानते थे वो भी और जिनको हम नहीं जानते थे, या मौला करीम वो जो दुनिया से चल बसे हैं, या मौला करीम उनकी आखिरत की मंजिल आसान फरमा। या मौला करीम उन्हें नबी पाक अलैहिस्सलाम की शफाअत कुबरा नसीब फरमा। नबी पाक अलैहिस्सलाम के वसीला जलीला से या मौला करीम हमें भी नेकी के काम करने की तौफीक अता फरमा। दीन को पढ़ने की, समझने की और उस पर अमल करने की और उसको आगे फैलाने की तौफीक अता फरमा। सल्लल्लाहु तआला अला खैर हदीही मोहम्मद व आलिही व अहली बैतिही व अस्हाबिही अजमाइन। आमीन बिरहमतिक या अरहमर राहिमीन। सबसे पहले जनाब आप कुरान की तिलावत करें, फिर उसके बाद ठीक हो जी।
माशाअल्लाह, शाबाश।
सूरत अल-आदिया मक्किया। अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम। बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। वल आदियाति दबहा फल्मुरियाति क़दहा फल्मुगीराति सुबहा फअसरन बिही नक़आ फवसतन बिही जमआ इन्नल इंसाना लिरब्बिही लकनूद व इन्नहु अला ज़ालिका लशहीद व इन्नहु लिहुब्बिल खैरि लशदीद अफला यअलमु इज़ा बु'थिरा मा फ़िल क़ुबूर व उज़्ज़िला मा फ़िस सुदूर इन्न रब्बहुम बिहिम यौमइज़िन लख़बीर। सदक़ल्लाहुल अज़ीम।
सुभानअल्लाह,
माशाअल्लाह। आज एक नया मुकर्रर आपके सामने पेश करते हैं।
माशाअल्लाह, शाबाश।
मौलाना फैजान।
माशाअल्लाह।
इसको ये नहीं देखना आपने कि ये छोटा सा है, ये कबाल का एक अहीन इंसान है जिस पर भी स्टॉप किया। बट तो आज इसने लेक्चर तैयार किया है। ये पिछले दिनों इसने टेस्ट दिया था, लेकिन ये बहुत तेजी से जा रहा है। जो चीज इसको एक बार बताएं हिफ्ज़ हो जाती है। तो आज इसने एक छोटा सा लेक्चर तैयार किया है। तो फैजान, इफ यू वांट टू कम टू द स्टेज।
माशाअल्लाह बच्चा, शाबाश।
कैन यू is it falling off? You know how to do it?
هات اليوم.
Yes.
هات لك. Put it down.
Push it back. That's it. That's it. Now push it down a little bit more. That's it.
Jump, can you record this? MashaAllah. Start with it.
Yes, you can.
Bit more
Speak
closer
into the mic. Yes.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. All praise for Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. and all supplications may be on Rasul Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present to you a hadith collected in Shama'il Tirmidhi. This is hadith number 3 from the first chapter. Abi Ishaq says, Sami'atu. Ladies and gentlemen, Sami'atu is from the Siga Wahid Muzakkar Mutakallim, meaning singular masculine first person. Sami'a, Sami'a, Sami'u, Sami'at, Sami'ata, Sami'na, Sami'ata, Sami'tuna, Sami'tuna, Sami'tum, Sami'ti, Sami'tuna, Sami'tuna, Sami'tu, Sami'na. This is from the verse Paramount Muslim Muslim Ma'ud. But Bana ibn Aruz describes our Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as a man of medium build who has broad shoulders. We could gather information that he has a wide chest. He also has thick hair that reached his earlobes, and he wore a red striped lungi and shawwal. Bara ibn Aruz also said that he has never seen anyone or anything as handsome as him. May Allah Ta'ala give us the ability to understand, follow, and love our Rasul and pious people.
MashaAllah, well done, very proud of you. और उसके बाद दूसरे काफी सारे बच्चे, 2-3 बच्चे इन दिनों गए हैं पाकिस्तान, 3-4 शागिर्द मेरे गए हुए हैं हज पर. तो मौलाना दनियाल साहब, आप तशरीफ लाते हैं, आप भी कुछ 1-2 हदीसें, इन्होंने भी टेस्ट दिया था उस दिन, ये लेट आए थे, बहुत मेहनती है, आराम से.
शाबाश शाबाश, अल्लाह बरकत दे.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. During our course in Lebanon Islam, we are studying a book called Al-Adab al-Mufrad, which is compiled by Imam Bukhari. And in it, I'll be teaching you hadith number 7, which is narrated by Ibn Abbas. And it says, if both parents of Muslim are alive and anyone wants to treat them, after they treated them kindly, both doors of Jannah will be opened by Allah Almighty.
Subhanallah.
But if one parent is alive and he behaves kindly towards the surviving parent, Allah Almighty will open one door for him in paradise. And if he displeases them, Allah Almighty will not be pleased with them until he makes them happy again. To that, a man asked, what if the parents are oppressors? To that, Imam Abbas replied, even if they are, you should still respect them.
MashaAllah.
May Allah might give us the ability to respect and honor our parents, teachers, and high predecessors.
MashaAllah. Well done.
These were their first lectures.
Very good. Very confident.
Very confident, alhamdulillah. My Dars of Bukhari is going to be very short today. I'm just going to explain a few things. We started Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa aqibatu lil muttaqin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulih Muhammad wa alihi wa ahli baytihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Inna awhayna ilayka kama awhayna ila nuhin wan nabiyyin min ba'dihi. Sadaqallahu al-azim wa sadaqa rasuluhu an-nabiyyul habiibul kareem. Nahnu ala dhalika min ash-shahidin wa ash-shakirin. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. This hadith, it is the final hadith of Badr al-Bayt, how the revelation started. This is a very lengthy hadith. We discussed last Friday how the community from Makkah went to Sham, and in this caravan, Hazrat Abu Sufyan, who had not accepted Islam at that specific time, he was amongst them, and Hirkal, who was the king of Rome, he summoned this community, this group of traders, and he asked that who is the closest one to Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he asked the 11 questions to them. And we discussed all the questions in detail last week. So today, there was just 2 points that I wanted to make, that Ibn Abi Qabsha was used, and how this was used is that when Hirkal, he questioned Abu Sufyan, and at the end he asked that a letter that was sent from Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it was brought to Hirkal, and he takes this letter from the person he asks him first to read it. And he reads this letter. The contents of the letter I didn't discuss last week, and I would like to discuss that today. What is the embodiment of that letter? What did it contain? It started in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the glorious and the merciful, meaning Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And he reads that the letter was addressed to Hirkal, the great ruler of Byzantium. And it was from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in this letter, he explains, peace be upon him who follows the right path. Meaning that if he was to follow the right path, then surely Allah's peace and blessings will be upon you. And he proceeds, he says, Amma Ba'd. This is a word which is commonly used, and there is great detail about who was the first person who used this word, Amma Ba'd. And Amma Ba'd is going to be used in our next Aqidah class as well, because when we are studying Shara philosophy, the beginning introduction of the khutbah, after that there is Amma Ba'd. So this here, Amma Ba'd is coming into this hadith, this word, so I would like to explain it so my students would understand it. So I will be explaining in the book Shara philosophy and this, because the word has come in both. Who used this letter first of all? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used this, and the whole ummah after Rasulullah has been using this. But the first person, there's many different narrations of who used this word first of all. And it says that Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam used it in his letters. It says that there was another Sohban, another companion of Rasulullah, I think he used it. But there is strong evidence to say that Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam used this letter, this word, Amma Ba'd. And how did he use this letter? When Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, who was the son of Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam, he became the king of Egypt, and his 12 brothers, his 11 brothers went to Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam to buy crops, and Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, he told the servants to put the golden bowl, the measuring bowl, into the saddlebags of the camels that Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam's brothers had used for carting the wheat. And when he placed this into the saddlebags, and he asked the courtiers to check all the saddlebags that the golden bowl is missing. And the golden bowl was found with Binyamin, who was his real brother, and the rest 10 were his step brothers. And when the brothers went back to Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam, and Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam was furious, and they say that Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam, when he was told that one of my sons, who is Yusuf, we don't know where he is, and now his other brother Binyamin is also being captured, and he has been charged with stealing a golden bowl. He says he writes a letter to Hazrat Yusuf, but he himself, in the capacity of a Nabi, he knew that he was his son, but superficially, he didn't let on that he knew that he was his son. So he writes a letter. He writes a letter addressing the king of Egypt, and he says, after he says Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, and he praises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says Amma Ba'd. This was the first time that he used this word, and straight after he used Amma Ba'd, he threatened Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam. He says that I am a prophet of God, and he says, if you do not release my son Binyamin, he said, I will supplicate in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and many generations will remember that I supplicated against you, because you have taken my son Binyamin. And then he addresses his son, and he says, I have had enough. He says, take this letter to the king of Egypt. And when he takes the letter to the king of Egypt, and Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam was his son, and Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, when he reads the letter which was addressed from his father, Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam, and he sees the threat. After Ammabad, he stands up in obedience, and all of a sudden he lets on that he is himself Yusuf. And this was the turning point in the Quranic ayat. So here, this Ammabad, from strong resources, says there is many other narrations. They say Ibrahim alayhi salam used it, Dawood alayhi salam used it, many other persons in history used this word Ammabad, but there is strong evidence to say that Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam used it when he wrote to his son Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam. And here in this letter of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he addresses Hirqal, he praises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he introduces himself as the Rasul and the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he addresses Hirqal and he says, I invoke you to embrace Islam, and if you become a Muslim, you will be safe. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will double your reward. Why was this word used, double your reward? And in a nutshell, brothers and sisters in Islam, you see, we believe that there is strong evidence to suggest that Hirqal was a Christian. So he believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that so this would be one reward. But the second reward would be that if he was to believe Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as the last messenger. So this would be two rewards. So he would say that you are already believing in Allah. So if he was to believe me as his Rasul as well, then your reward will be double. So this suggests that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was clear-minded. He knew the idea, what was going to happen. He knew that what Hirqal had in his head and mind at that time. He says, your reward will be doubled. And if you reject it, you will be committing a sin. Not only on your own part, sin by misguiding your peasants. Why? If you see, if a king, he has a religion, and 90% of the time his peasants will follow him in his religion. He will compel them to follow him in his religion. So if he was to become a Muslim and would accept Islam open-handedly, with open arms, all his peasants would be accepting Islam as well. But if he was to reject it, the whole community would reject it, because they are under him. He is the ruler, they are the peasants, they are the civilians. So this is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam addressed Hirqal with this, that if he was to accept it, and if you was to reject it, then you would be misguiding you would be committing a sin on your own part, and you would be misguiding your peasants. And it says, O people of the book, and this is the Quranic ayat, and this is the reason, this ayat is the reason that this story is being included in Badul Bayy, in the chapter concerning the revelation. It says, O people of the book, come to the word common to you and us. What was the word that was common? Meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. Because the religion of Christianity believes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala one at that time. Now there is many. We have discussed them, there's 4 or 5 different ones. But at that specific time there was only one. And Hirqal was a Christian. So he believed in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not the division, not the division. He didn't divide many gods. Like Hazrat Isa alayhi salam and Hazrat Maryam. He only considered Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the ruler and the master of the world. And he said that this is a common word. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as one, and we believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as one. So let us unite on this point. And he says that you worship one, only one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we associate nothing in worship with him. And if you turn away from this, you should bear witness that we are the only ones that are Muslims and are believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This was the letter that was written here in Bukhari Sharif. This is page 100, this is 15. This is a new book because all the students have been given the same copy of this book. So I'm using the same book instead of my other one, so that they are on the same pages and they understand what I'm saying. You see on page number 15, here, there is a word that Hazrat Sufyan, who was at that specific time, he was not a Muslim, but he uses a word which was not common and which has never been discussed before. He uses a word in page 15, one verse, one line from the bottom, Ibn Abi Qabsha. He says that when Hirqal sees the letter, he kisses the letter, and he And what they say about this letter is that he placed this letter he made a golden box with jewels and pearls attached to it. And he gave so much honor to this letter that he placed it in there. And they say, and Allama Badruddin Aini says, that in his generation, he had so much love for this letter that it traveled in his generation for hundreds of years. And he said that because of this, he was always given prosperity. He was considered a good man, and his family was given a good man. And people would often go to him, later the Muslims, and say, could we see the letter? And at one time, one person goes to him and he says, we know that your family has the letter of Rasulullah. He says, we do. So a golden box is brought out with all the pearls and all the dressings, and he opens it up and he shows it to them. And this person says, may I take it and kiss it? And he refuses. So they were in control, and they gave so much honor to this letter, and it traveled into many generations in their family. But when he kisses this letter of Rasulullah, Sufyan says, Hazrat Sufyan, he says, by Allah, he says, because he was not a Muslim at that time, he says, I see that Ibn Abi Kabsha has created so much fear into these persons that even kings are terrified of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he uses this word, Ibn Abi Kabsha. So I would just like to explain what the meaning of Ibn Abi Kabsha is. Just in a nutshell, that is many narrations that say that what is the explanation of Ibn Abi Kabsha. The first explanation is that the father of Hazrat Mai Halima Sadiya, you see, the nursemaid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, her father's name was Abi Kabsha. So it was his name, and this traveled on. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they used this name for Rasulullah, that he is the son of Ibn Abi Kabsha, and they addressed him like that. So Hazrat Sufyan, because he was nursed by Hazrat Halima, so this is one of the reasons that this word that Sufyan used this and addressed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as Ibn Abi Kabsha. The second is that they say that Amna bint Wahab, who was the mother of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, her father's grandfather's name was Abi Kabsha as well, and she would be often referred to as Binte Abi Kabsha. And this is the second reason that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was named and was addressed with this letter, and this was only known by the close family of Rasulullah, like Hazrat Sufyan and the rest of the Quraysh and the Hajj Ashmiyah. So I want to finish here today. This is completed. We have completed the first chapter, which is Badul Bayyin, and so the next chapter will be Kitabul Iman. But today, because it's a blessed day, I am going to start a new book which we have just bought, which is Mustadrak. I have bought this book. This is Mustadrak of Imam Hakim. I am going to every week be discussing the hadiths of Bukhari. But I will be only reading one hadith of Imam Hakim, of Mustadrak. I won't be commenting on it. The reason why I want to read this hadith is from Mustadrak, so that Imam Hakim's Mustadrak, it becomes well known, and our children and our generations know that who Imam Hakim was, and actually his hadith, the hadiths that he collected were actually very, very authenticated hadiths. And so what I'm going to do every week, just in a minute or so, or 2 minutes, and they are very small hadiths, I'm going to explain one hadith at a time. And because today is a very, very blessed day, I would like to start this book today with one hadith, and I would just want to give you a small commentary, small discussion on who Hazrat Imam Hakim was. Imam Hakim, rahmatullah alayh, may Allah be pleased with him, he was born in the year 321 of Hijrah. He died in the year 405. And his name was Muhammad bin Abdullah bin Muhammad, and he was also known as Abu Abdullah. His son's name was Abdullah as well. He was born in Neshapur. This is an area in Iran, and he, at the age of 330 Hijrah, after the age of 8 or 9, he started to memorize hadith. He had an interest in learning hadith. He was fascinated by the narrations of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he says he started to learn hadith at the age of 300 in the Hijrah 330, so he was about 8 years of age, and then he traveled to Khorasan, which was in Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan and this area, and he traveled to Iraq, and he says himself that Mawara Nahar is 2 rivers which are in Uzbekistan, and in this part of the land between the 2 rivers, he says that he took hadiths from 1,000 scholars. 1,000 ustad थे जिनसे उन्होंने hadith ली. So 1,000 teachers of his, they lived between these 2 rivers which was in Uzbekistan. So you can see how pious these persons were, how their ilm and how their knowledge and how their knowledge of Islam was immense. And we know that Imam Taftadani, we know Imam Maturidi, we know a lot of books that Imam Jami, they were from this area as well. So they were great personalities who lived in this area. And he said that he took many hadiths from them as well. And in total he had 2,000 shiyukh. He took hadiths from 2,000 persons. And he was a great person. And Hassan bin Ash'as Qarshi was one of his friends. And when Imam Hakim, he dies, and Hassan bin Ash'as, he says that he sees Imam Hakim in a dream. And he says that Imam Hakim, he is well dressed and he is saddled on a horse. And he's going here and there and there. He is enjoying his life. And he asks him that, what is the reason that you are here? What happened in the grave? He says that I was freed. And he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was most kind to me. And he says, look at my situation, I am noble. And he says to him that, why did you reach this status? He says, because I had so much love for the hadith of Rasulullah. Imam Hakim, he collects many hadiths in Mustadrak, but what Mustadrak is, it is an attachment of Bukhari Sharif. So the hadiths Imam Bukhari left out or were not compiled in Sahih Bukhari, he takes them and he corrects them. But he doesn't say that this is Bukhari, but he says that this should have been collected in Bukhari Sharif, but whatever the reason was, they weren't collected in Bukhari Sharif. And he collects them, and he starts his book, Mustadrak, by Imam Bukhari started it with Badul Bayn, how revelation starts, but he didn't. He started Kitabul Iman. He said, what is Iman? And the first hadith I shall read in front of you, and he said, this is hadith number 1 of Mustadrak, and he says, Akmalul Mu'minina Iman Aksaruhum Khuluqa. He says the best amongst your mu'minins is the one who has the best akhlaq, the best character in your mu'minins. From the community of mu'minin, the one who has the best character, he is a better Muslim, he is a better mu'min. This is the characteristics of mu'minin. And we shall end here today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to understand the sayings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the instructions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَعَلَيْنَا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ آمين الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله محمد وآله وآل بيته وأصحابه أجمعين. इन बच्चों ने जो बयान किया है और जो हदीस रसूल पाक से अपनी शुरू की है, आज ये बुखारी शरीफ और तमाम हाकिम की मुसलसल शुरू की है, या मुलाज़िम जो हमने सही मालूमात फराहम की है, या मुलाज़िम आपकी बारगाह में कबूल फरमा, जो हमसे कोताही हुई है, या मुलाज़िम मदद फरमा और अपना खुसूसी करम फरमा, रहम फरमा। सल्लल्लाहु तआला अला खैर हदी मुहम्मद व आलिहि व सहाबिहि अजमईन। If you want me to do it in Urdu, I can do, but I think everybody will do it. Where did you put the book?
Al-Qadri wal-Qadri. कुछ जमात ने जनाब ऐसे हजरत सदाबहार दीन का मुश्किल महफिल नहीं थी जी जी ये मैं शारा कर इंस्पेक्टर से क्या मैं सब मेरा था अल्लाह कुछ बड़ी परेशान हां ये बड़ा इसके दी परेशान चलिए क्या है साहब जो साहब में शायद पे हम बात भाई हमारा साहब सीखिए आप ग्रेट मैंने कहा आज चली यार बड़े सदरदार का सुनो चंगी गाली गुल्ला all of you Maria Hojotan राजू ने तक ऐसी आने की देश नाम आने असल चंगी की मरियम बुखारी हासियत न साले इसको बात कर ना बात मैं गला की बिट्टी की नहीं बिस्मिल्लाह ना तो गला की ऐसा आए ना निकल क्या है बुराई या हो लीडर तो कुछ का ये राखो संसार ये ऐसा हो तो कभी आपने जितना जाए शायद रावल इक्विटी जो करने की तैयारी है उतरी हमें लगे मैं कार्ड उसकी जाल दफा मैं तो जवान याद नहीं यार तू क्या बात बना मैं तू ही पता ही नहीं जुमला मतलब ये पता भी नहीं लगा अक्ल है और ये ऐसी दे लिखा अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह सुनो शुक्र अल्लाह Allah said to me, you know, if you drop the Quran there, I should listen to Allah. Oh, I can give a little bit of me like £5. You know, I haven't got power in my arm. Sometimes I and this arm, you know, when I do Namaz, no heat. Yeah. That's right. Allah Ta'ala, inshallah. I'm going to give some little bit that he will cough is Juma. So then finish. How much is Surah Kahf? I'm just going to read now. MashaAllah. I'm going to read now. You know, I regret to go to Surah Kahf and Surah Dukhan. Surah Dukhan. Yeah, Surah Kahf, Surah Dukhan, Surah Ashur, Surah Mulk, Muzammil. Yeah, inshallah. But you can. And then there's Hawaii Allah, and there's Leader, Surah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah, shukr, shukr. Allah, fuck, तेरे यार. Allah, fuck. Allah, shukr, shukr. तेरी ज़ात है.